Good evening, everybody, and many, many thanks for joining wherever you are around the world. And thanks for coming to listen to the Provakill team this evening and to hear about contract lifecycle management. My name is Stephen Law, and I head up the business growth side of the business for the UK, Europe, and the USA. And I'm joined this evening by my colleagues Akshat and Shashwat. Shashwat is our co-founder and CBO, and he'll be doing quite a bit of the talking this evening. Akshat's working behind the scenes there. He'll be moderator, so anybody who's putting questions into chat and all those things, he'll be beavering away in the background. Basically, to start the webinar this evening, I'm going to give you a sort of brief overview of contract lifecycle management. I know everybody's probably keen to see how we can make their life easier using our software. So I'll shortly hand over to Shashwat, who will explain the main points of CLM and provide you with a demo of our system. We'll then have a question and answer session at the end to look at the main questions. Of course, we probably can't answer all of your questions today, but don't worry, because we are going to be offering one-on-one meetings with everybody who would like that. You've probably got your own problems you want to solve. We'll cover a lot of issues here today, but you're bound to have your own particular questions and nuances with your business that you think, well, you know, is this going to work for me? How is it going to make my life easier? So what we're going to do, I believe Akshat's about to put in the chat box at the bottom. You'll have a button with Q&A, sorry, and and he'll put in the chat the Calendly link. Just to say this, the Calendly link, if you click on that, you can book your own one-on-one appointment with us at any time that suits you in the calendar. And that way you can have a one-on-one session. We'll go through everything with you personally and answer your questions. But back to the main topic of this evening then. Before we jump in, I'm just going to give you a brief overview of the company, Provakill, and our work in the legal sector. Very quick. I won't last too long on this. The company was founded back in 2015 with a very simple idea: to make life easier for legal professionals. We've grown from a handful of staff to over 40 now over the last 6 years, and our software is now used by more than 10,000 legal professionals around the world. So it's pretty well used, tried and tested. So if you've never seen it before or whatever, don't worry, you're not an early bird. You won't be the first person to ever use this. It's well tried and tested. Now, give you a bit of a flavor who uses it. Well, you're not going to know all of our users and all the companies that I could mention, but let me mention a few of the big companies who use this that you'll know their brand names: Toyota, Procter & Gamble, and Unilever. Everybody knows those guys. If it's good enough for them, I'm sure most people will say it's probably good enough for me. But don't worry, our price tags, because we are an Indian based company with our programmers, our price tags are not Unilever price tags. So don't worry, you could get a very, very good system. This is why people love us. You get the best, but it's not going to cost you the earth. Today we're going to talk about one part of our overall legal offering, and that's contract lifecycle management. But just in case you weren't aware, we do have software for contract lifecycle management, obviously, but also a litigation management suite, an IPR management suite, compliance management, and practice management. So it's basically everything that you need. You can come to us, but contract lifecycle management is what we're going to go through mainly today. So if I go to the next slide here, and this is sort of talk about fast tracking your business. Well, COVID-19 has basically accelerated the move for most people across the planet now to digitization of their systems. We saw this happening before COVID. It was going in that direction. Some in the legal industry, we're all renowned for being fairly conservative, but I think with everybody having to work from home and so on this year, it's really been a game changer. And people are saying, you've got to now go digital. You've got to go automated. You've got to actually be far more careful with your time, speed everything up, make less mistakes, be more competitive. And that's how you're going to grow your business. That's how you're going to expand. So look about what CLM can do for your business. These are the main components, I guess you would say, of a quality contract lifecycle management software system. A repository of information so that you don't have to keep reinventing the wheel. You don't want all these disparate areas and silos of data. You want them in one place where you can use everything and actually make life faster and easier. You also need a set of templates so you can get started rapidly on any type of contract that you're going to do. You don't want to start from scratch every time. So again, you want to get going, move faster. You also want the ability to e-sign. Let's face it, 10 years ago, people were quibbling about e-sign and saying, oh, no, it'll never happen. Electronic signatures just won't work and so on. Today is de rigueur. Everybody e-signs. That is tried and tested, and we all know it works. It's a question of how you incorporate that into what you do. So obviously, e-sign reduces the friction, makes things much, much faster. You also need a set of defined workflows. You want to know that from start to finish, you've got a pattern, you've got a process, and you're going to complete all the work that you've got to do. So you want to know that you're doing everything in a methodical manner, just as you would do with a paper system, but digital. And finally, you want insights. You want to be able to understand what's going on. You want to get the best out of contracts. So at this point, these are the 4 pillars of contract lifecycle management. But rather than me babbling on anymore at this point, I'm going to hand you over to the boss. This guy, Shashwat, knows his stuff. And if you please could take the reins now, Shashwat, explain a bit more about this, explain a bit more about the system. And then if you could, I'm hoping you're going to do a demo, show people in context how it could work, give them an example. And then we could go on to the questions at the end, which I'm sure people are going to have. So if I switch off my sharing and hand over to you.
Sure. Thank you, Stephen. Thanks for the introduction. I'll quickly share my screen and I'll get you guys started on what ProKeel does and maybe take you to a quick demo of the system as well, right? So Stephen talked about, right? I mean, we've all felt the need for a contract lifecycle management system because of one or the other pain point. What we have identified as a company is that contract lifecycle management has 3 or 4 core pieces which make the system powerful. The first and the foremost system, the part of the system that we feel is the system should be able to handle your contract operations, right? So one of the biggest failures I've seen in most tools is that tools are predefined and they're not able to adapt to your contract operations. One of the key aspects we feel about a contract lifecycle management system that it has to cut down the time of what you need to do, right? And so it has to be adaptable to your processes. It has to be adaptable to your systems. It has to be adaptable to your set of users who use the system, right? And the different tasks that they have to perform on the system, right? And it has to provide an end-to-end system for collaboration where right from contract acquisition till contract execution and post execution contract obligation management is happening on the system, right? Another aspect of the system is the repository, right? Wherein it should not just be, a simple document folder where you're facing a hard time finding things, right? The system has to make it really simple for you to find stuff. So it has to have functional filters. It has to have, labels. It has to have constant reminders about important things that you need from the system, right? And it has to bring things alive. So in a sense that there is a lot of metadata that gets captured in the contracting process. All of that data should be searchable. All of that data should be available to the user for answering the query that the user has. Another thing that we're going to focus on is the contract review piece. Contract review, again, is extremely important. We, legal teams spend a lot of time doing that. There are multiple aspects of contract review which are broken today, right from having standard clause libraries, templates, how do you track deviations? Again, and also a lot of these tasks are repeatable, right? You're doing that same task over and over again with the similar type of contract, right? So how can a tool enable you to cut down on the time you spent on reviewing, and also enable a collaborative mechanism where people can collaboratively work, get approvals for changes they are making, and know what the process is for the contract to move forward, again, to cut down the time of execution of contracts. And then finally, a system, as I talked about earlier, has to have configurability for supporting different templates that you have, supporting the different data models that you have, and supporting the different workflows that you have, right? So again, the system has to have a lot of flexibility in terms of how it enables the end-to-end process in a easy to use environment, right? Again, I'll not talk a lot more about the contract lifecycle management system. The best way to sort of take you guys through today's webinar is to do a small demonstration of a simple use case around contract management. And what I've chosen is I've picked up a small, simple workflow of a simple contracting process. And I'm trying to take you through the system and show how the system enables and why is it an easy system for you to use, and try to answer some of the questions that you have in terms of what are the key essentials that one has to look when one is looking for a contracting system, right? So in this process, we start with the initial contract request. How does the request come in? There are multiple mechanisms for that. How does the contract actually get authored? So, there could be standard templates through which the document could get authored. There could be collaboration in terms of people co-drafting the contract and then uploading that contract into the system. There could be collaboration between the internal team and external counsels to get to the contract, right? So again, the second aspect is contract generation. Then we come to internal review. So once the contract is out there, there are a lot of eyes looking at it, right? So even before the counterparty gets to put in their views, there could be internal considerations, right? There could be deal mechanics. There could be commercials involved in the deal, right? So contract goes through a set of internal eyes before it actually moves finally to the counterparty and where the negotiation process starts. In a lot of cases, contracts are pretty standard. They go through without any real negotiation, but a lot of contracts require a lot of back and forth. And this is the most important aspect of the system, where through the internal review process to the negotiation that happens with the counterparty, the system has to enable that. Because if the document leaves the system at this point, then again, what you would observe is the parallel process would start over email. And again, the tool is not the centerpiece where all of this is happening. Metadata is not getting recorded. A lot of those approvals and a lot of the discussion points are not captured in the system. So again, those limitations, hinder adoption for a good contract management system. And then finally, we talk about the execution to show a simple execution process where how easily you can execute contracts. As Stephen mentioned earlier in the call, right? I mean, the pandemic has made us all realize how ill-equipped we were, right? And I mean, we at ProVakil strongly believe that contract management, right? Digital contracting is one of the most important systems that is going to come about, and one of the most important changes that is happening in the business world, right? Digital contracting is not just having standard templates and executing those templates. Digital contracting is about reimagining the whole contracting process and adding a lot of value back into the business, right? So we've been in situations where a lot of our deals have been stuck because of legal review, things don't move forward. We've been at points where important information was needed regarding transactions, but just to find information from a pile of documents, right? Sometimes digitized, sometimes not digitized, is extremely challenging and extremely tough. And there have been systems in the past. Some systems, travel the distance. Most systems fail, right? Because one of this process could be broken, and at that point, this a lot of information gets lost, right? So what we're trying to do today is to try to give you a sense of how a system can be holistic, in the sense that it can help you traverse through the entire path without you having to compromise on taking additional steps or making it difficult for the users to use the system and get their work done. It actually has to cut down the time that it takes people to review and execute contracts, right? Finally, again, in this process, different stakeholders are involved. We understand, again, just for clarity, I mean, what we're going to do is we're going to take a use case for business user. Other stakeholders involved could be a legal SPOC, there could be a legal head. There's definitely a counterparty. There could be internal teams like commercial involved, and then there could be an external counsel who's also involved in the consultation process, right? So again, this is the broad process, and this is what I'll try to run you guys through a demo. And again, you guys are free to put in your questions. We'll try to take those questions at the end of the demo and answer those questions to the best ability that we can. So I think in the interest of time, I'll pause over here. I'll see if there are any Q&As, any questions that you guys have, and then maybe a parting note on yeah. So I see some of the questions that have come in. So let me take that opportunity to sort of read through some of those questions and also answer that. And then finally,
great talk, Shashwat. That was really, really good. Yeah. What sort of questions are we getting then?
Yeah. So the first one essentially talks about the threat of cybersecurity, right? And how secure is the system, how safe is the system. So how safe the online system contract request from potential threat of cybersecurity, right? So this is absolutely crucial. Security is something that is given how sensitive the information that the documents contain and how sensitive that process is, right? So there are 2 or 3 things over here, right? So one is from a system access standpoint, right? People who are accessing that system, if they're creating that request, that system is running on an internal platform wherein ProKeel, the system today, we are, we spend a lot of time and effort making sure that a system is fully encrypted and it is in the safest, it follows the safest possible standards, right? So, so for you to be, trusting your data and making sure that, the system is not vulnerable in any step of the process, right? So the data is sitting encrypted right at rest, and the data is encrypted when it moves, right? So from a cybersecurity threat, I think this is something that we can go into details if we connect with you one-on-one on what measures do we take to make sure that the system is secure. And obviously the third party, right, which are not the business users and the internal team, legal team, commercial teams, everybody is on the platform, and they are, we can deploy the system on your premises. We you use on the cloud deployment, we use Google and Amazon cloud. So that is extremely secure. We are ISO compliant. So again, all of those measures in terms of testing is in place to make sure the system is extremely robust in terms of security, right? And third parties, when they are interacting with the system, they anyways have access to very limited information, right? So they obviously are just looking at the document, they're making changes. So any information that they would have available in the Word document, right, which would go to them over email, right? All that is the only information that is available to them, right? And rest, whatever is discussed within the company stays within the company, within the system. It could be on a cloud, it could be on your premise, or on your premises on a server hosted in your premises. Again, depending on the type of deployment that you need, right? So from a data security standpoint, the system is extremely secure. We do third-party audits every 6 months to test vulnerability for our servers or our applications. So again, happy to get into a detailed discussion on the measures that we may take to make sure that your data is secure. I hope that I was able to answer that question. If there's any follow-up to that, you can also put in that question in the Q&A box. The second was, did the clause deletion didn't change the numbering, right? Oh, you're absolutely right. Again, this was a demo version, so I hadn't shown you the entire flow. But essentially, in the live version, when we set up the templates for you, the formatting and the numbering will be taken care of, right? One thing that I could not spend time on today in the interest of time, because we had limited time on the call today, was that we are building machine learning algorithms now for the system to automatically classify clauses and make sure the system understands what information is contained in the contract, right? So to make sure so when you upload a new document in the system, it will be auto classified into its component clauses. So numbering will be taken care of, right? In that, right? In the demo, I think when we deleted that particular feature was not on, so I couldn't go into those details. But that is something that we understand, and we will take care of that, right? So that's something that works in the system. Any other questions if anybody has? Yeah, so does the counterparty also have to use the same tool? The answer is no, the counterparty does not have to use the same tool. The counterparty will, so internal team members will have access to the tool, and depending on how many people you want to give access to the tool, you can have accounts configured and their roles and access levels defined in the system. But for the counterparty, yeah,
we operate in a slightly different way from a lot of other people who make software similar to us. I mean, there's nothing quite the same given our configurability. I mean, we're just totally different the way we can configure. But in terms of sort of seats and so on, a lot of people think of this as buying per user, don't they? How would you say we differ on that basis?
Yeah. So Stephen, I have two questions in the box, and I'll answer that. So again, so there's no user restriction, but essentially the counterparty does not have to be on the system. The counterparty is getting that link over the email, and it opens in a secure as a secure link in the browser, right? Again, all of that data is encrypted, so they don't have to directly interact with the system. They will interact it via the browser, and they don't have to log into the system, right? So they don't have to do that. They can in fact be doing everything that they're doing on a Word document, which goes an attachment to them and then just be uploaded back in the system. And the system would essentially be treated as if they've done all of those edits and made all of those changes in the system itself, right? So we've built very strong compatibility between Microsoft Word and our system, right? So we understand, there are multiple stakeholders, and some of them are just used to working on Microsoft Word. They would not want to log into your system. So in that case, there's cross compatibility between the system and Microsoft Word. So the counterparty could just be doing all of these changes on Microsoft Word and uploading it back in the system, right? They don't need to essentially be on the system. And we provide a browser-based, editing option to them, wherein it is again dependent on their email and who they give access to. But again, that's also a secure link that goes to the counterparty. You want to enable two-factor authentication on it. All of those things in terms of security can be enabled as well, right? Wherein only the right set of eyes get to see. I have a follow-up from Stefan here. You change the location to India. Doesn't the applicable law change as well, or does the legal head have to pay attention? Right. So again, I took a simple example. Now, in the contract that you're doing, right? I mean, so right now, what the system is trying to do is any review or any change that happens, right? Now, if you define that a particular change, let's say if I change location, right? And nobody needed to approve that, right? Because that was how the system, we had defined it in the system. Let's say if you want to put an additional control on this, that if somebody changes the location, the same is highlighted to so-and-so person in the team. It could be the legal head, it could be, somebody in finance. So then that can be triggered in the system based on the configuration, right? On which clause, if there's a certain configuration, a certain policy that you want to impose, right? Certain clauses could be frozen, right? Nobody has the permission to edit it, right? if you're editing it, certain changes have to be made, right? So from a system standpoint, while the system does not go into the depths of understanding the applicable law, but as a configuration from an operational process standpoint, we would be able to make sure that the system you're able to sorry, Stephen. Yeah, Stefan, I have another question from you. Who does the configuration out of the box, and do you take responsibility for out of the box? So we do the configuration, and we have customer support available, wherein you will have a dedicated account manager. The system also has there's a workflow configurator, template configurator inbuilt. So if you want to do the configuration yourself, or your IT team needs to do it, if you're part of a large group, then that could be done at your end. But we anyways provide you an account manager who will be able to answer that for you, right? And make sure that happens. I have another question from Atul here. What about data science? How does it help other party? Will scope of data science help clients on project and for students to get a work data science? Yeah. So from a data science standpoint, again, how we're using data science is trying to build machine learning algorithms, right? There's a lot in terms of repeatable tasks that could be automated. There is a lot of context that could go into the contract review process of understanding what what the contract says, and if there's certain standard responses to that. So we use machine learning for that, and that's the extent of how we use data science and machine learning in the system. There's a lot happening there. Great. Thank you. So I think we're just about short on time now. So what I'll do is, thank you so much for all the questions that you guys asked. I would love to answer more, but again, in the interest of time, what I'll ask Stephen to do is probably share a Calendly link, so that some of you who want to do a detailed deep dive into the system, and considering that we probably covered 30% of what the system does right in detail today, to set up a session one-on-one with some of you who are interested in looking at the system in more detail. We're happy to do that, and I think Stephen's Calendly link is already there in the chat. If you guys are able to see it, so you can book, and we'll obviously try to drop you guys an email post this session as well, so that you have the information, and we can set up a session for a detailed discussion, follow-up discussion on this.
Cool.
Great. Again, thank you so much, everybody. I hope this was useful, and we would love to speak to to folks to understand how they're managing their contracting process, and if a system like this could be useful, if a system like this could be could help them reduce a little bit of friction, improve the process in their legal departments, and how we can make contracting easier. Again, thank you so much for joining, and we'll have new sessions coming up, so we'll keep you guys informed. Till then, do take good care of yourselves, stay safe, and best of luck to all of you.
That's brilliant. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.